In the Weiyang Palace, Emperor Ming was reading Cheng Dalei's writing, which discussed the spirit of the bright sword. The text described the mindset of a swordsman when facing an opponent, emphasizing that even if they knew they would lose, they would draw their sword and engage in combat. It emphasized that losing under the opponent's sword would still bring pride, embodying the spirit of the bright sword. Emperor Ming contemplated the article, noting that it didn't employ flowery language like civil officials, nor was it as cryptic as military officials. He found the writing style to be simple and easy to understand, though he remarked that the handwriting was a bit ugly. Continuing to read, Emperor Ming encountered the phrase, "Facts prove that an army with fine traditions often had the soil to cultivate heroes." As Emperor Ming continued to read Cheng Dalei's writing, he read the statement, "Faith showed how powerful the spirit of an army was." Emperor Ming contemplated this and then read on, where the writing emphasized that with faith, they could protect the country, with pride, they could maintain peace, and with duty, they could uphold righteousness, embodying the spirit of the army. Emperor Ming expressed his approval, praising Cheng Dalei for his strong allegiance to the country. His officers were surprised and somewhat disbelieving by the emperor's enthusiastic response. Emperor Ming decided to reward talented individuals and ordered that Cheng Dalei be awarded first place in the examination. The officers were uncertain about how to respond, knowing that they accepted money from the civil factions, and they exchanged looks while bowing to the emperor. The officers expressed their concerns to Emperor Ming, pointing out that although Cheng Dalei's article was good, it might attract unwanted attention, especially from the Ring Tribe peace envoy who was due to arrive soon. They worried that the Ring Tribe negotiators might doubt the sincerity of their peace talks if they knew that Cheng Dalei's article had been placed first. One of the officers emphasized the need to focus on regaining their strength after the war rather than showcasing the article on the bright sword. Emperor Ming considered their advice and decided not to alter Cheng Dalei's ranking. Instead, he suggested that the article be copied and distributed among the army for study. However, he wanted the writing to be improved to make it less vulgar. The officers agreed to this plan. One of them mentioned the conflict between Cheng Dalei and a civil official before the examination and speculated whether Cheng Dalei could be a member of the general's family. Emperor Ming dismissed the officers, instructing them to leave. After the officers departed, another person within the palace approached Emperor Ming and expressed concern about Cheng Dalei's origins, suggesting that the snake team investigate further. Emperor Ming decided against such an investigation, stating that as long as the balance of factions was maintained, he would allow them to do as they wanted. This person introduced as a monk acknowledged the emperor's decision. Emperor Ming inquired about any news regarding Xingzai, and the monk reported that the crane team and the deer team had been dispatched. Some reports indicated that Xingzai had been seen in Yangzhou, so there should be news soon. Emperor Ming expressed his thoughts about Xingzai, showing a sense of sad expression. Meanwhile, in the northwest region of Yangzhou, Xingzai, who appeared worn out and poorly dressed, walked in the middle of nowhere, using a cane due to exhaustion and hunger. Xingzai expressed his desperation for a meal, listing various extravagant dishes like roast goose, roast sheep, and shark fin. He was so hungry that he couldn't be choosy. Suddenly, he spotted a snake in front of him, and his hunger-driven excitement led him to see it as a potential source of meat. As Xingzai eyed the snake, another person also noticed it and expressed his desire for the meat, which surprisingly this person is Fu Delay. A tense situation unfolded as both men wanted to claim ownership of the snake they had spotted. Their aggressive expressions and thoughts revealed their determination to secure the meal. As the battle for survival between Xingzai and Fu Delay escalated, they resorted to physical combat. Fu Delay pinched Xingzai's face, and Xingzai defended himself by striking back with his cane. They exchanged punches, but Xingzai eventually surrendered, shouting to Fu Delay to stop. Xingzai pointed out that the snake they had been fighting over had already run away. However, it was too late as both watched in silence to observe the rapidly retreating snake. Fu Delay began to shake, appearing drained of energy, and it appeared that he had exhausted himself to the point of fainting. With evening arrived, Xingzai set up a campfire and started cooking over the flames. The scent of the cooked food eventually woke Fu Delay from his unconscious state. Xingzai greeted him, mentioning that he hadn't eaten for days, despite the intense battle they had. Upon waking, Fu Delay suddenly became alert and Xingzai questioned his origin, suspecting him of being associated with the Ring Tribe. Xingzai explained to Fu Delay that they were in a remote location and couldn't search for their families to ask for food. He mentioned that he found some potatoes nearby, which saved them from starvation. As he blew on his food to cool it down, Xingzai commented on how good it smelled. Fu Delay, still doubtful, stared at Xingzai. Xingzai continued, stating that they couldn't survive alone in such a poor place and proposed that they stick together. He offered a share of the cooked food to Fu Delay and introduced himself as Lai Xingzai. With a warm smile, he asked for Fu Delay's name. Fu Delay, initially surprised, hesitated briefly before revealing his name as Fu Delay. In the evening, in the city of Chang'an, Cheng Dalei and his group hurriedly walked in town. Shenji asked Cheng Dalei where they were going, with Linger. Cheng Dalei explained that they were heading to a place he referred to as the Wily Hare with 3 burrows, which he considered a special place. Curious, Cheng Dalei inquired if anyone was following them. Shenji mentioned having noticed a beggar who seemed to be watching them, prompting him to wonder if they were being tracked. He glanced nervously behind him. Linger interjected, informing Shenji that the beggar was blind. Shenji, somewhat embarrassed, laughed it off, acknowledging the importance of caution. Cheng Dalei indicated that they had now arrived. Shenji inquired whether the house they had reached belonged to Cheng Dalei. Cheng Dalei explained that to ensure privacy and prevent eavesdropping, all the houses in that area were under his control. Shenji jokingly pointed out the extravagance of owning so many houses without living in them. Cheng Dalei responded, saying that these properties were given to him by those under his authority. He then instructed Linger to fetch a bucket of water to assist with makeup removal, while Shenji was directed to release the fireworks. Cheng Dalei issued the command to release the fireworks. In various parts of the city, people who were busy in the street did not notice the upcoming fireworks. In one area, a lady was haggling over the price of a jewel with a seller. The lady inquired if the jewel could be bought for 5 yuan, to which the seller playfully suggested increasing the offer. The seller proposed 7 coppers but became entranced after the fireworks exploded, while the lady remained focused on the purchase. Undeterred by the distraction, the lady insisted, demanding to know if the seller still intended to sell the item, while the seller was shocked by it. Suddenly, the seller had a change of heart and decided to offer the jewel for free. In other parts of the city, including where Jai Tao was located, she witnessed the spectacle of the fireworks. Jai Tao, in a flirtatious manner, playfully questioned whether Cheng Dalei had been responsible for releasing the dazzling fireworks. In another direction within the city, another man was engrossed in conversation, narrating the last part of a chapter involving Jin Lion and a king. However, his words trailed off as he caught sight of the fireworks. He was taken aback and surprised by the sudden display, wide open the window. The person he was talking to then questioned his sudden runaway, seemingly bewildered by his abrupt departure. As the 3 men looked outside and called the man named Ajef, wondering why he had left in such haste, while the other admired the student's impressive light body skill. A fireworks order awakened the long-dormant underground forces in Chang'an. In an underground city, Su Ying and Liu Zhai were immersed in reading a letter when Qin Man suddenly entered and delivered a report. Qin Man addressed Su Ying and conveyed Cheng Dalei's issuance of a fireworks order. He offered to send a message on their behalf. Liu Zhai, curious about the purpose of the fireworks order, sought an explanation. Aku clarified that the fireworks order served as a signal for those who wished to seek Cheng Dalei's help, repay his kindness, or establish connections within the big city. Cheng Dalei held a prominent position as the underground city's leader in Chang'an. Liu Zhai, displaying a surprised expression, inquired whether Jai Tao would also attend. Aku confirmed that Jai Tao would certainly be in attendance at the event. Liu Zhai addressed Su Ying with a worried expression. Su Ying reassured her, implying that Liu Zhai's concern might be related to outsiders trying to get close to Cheng Dalei. Su Ying then suggested that Liu Zhai could follow Qin Man while she attended to her own business. She conveyed this with a pleasant tone. Liu Zhai responded with a pout and a blush. Su Ying instructed Qin Man to take Liu Zhai to Cheng Dalei and inform him of the impending arrival of an important person. Qin Man acknowledged her order. Back at Cheng Dalei's residence, Fei Yuan was the first to arrive and respectfully addressed Cheng Dalei. Cheng Dalei acknowledged him and advised him to wait for everyone else to arrive while he was sipping tea. In the following scene, many people were seen making their way to Cheng Dalei's residence. Some showcased their skills in lightweight jumping to reach the location, while others ran to get there. They greeted each other and commented on the familiar faces they encountered. A bald man noted that they were all familiar faces, and someone else expressed surprise at seeing him there as well. Everyone who received orders from Cheng Dalei gathered in his residence. They respectfully addressed Cheng Dalei. Cheng Dalei announced that he was going to give orders to a select group of people who were staying to work with him. He called upon Fei Yuan, Axi, and Aku, instructing them to stay. Cheng Dalei then turned his attention to Jai Tao. Cheng Dalei appeared to hesitate, thinking about Su Ying's potential misunderstanding if he left her behind. However, he recognized the opportunity to make use of her skills this time, so he decided to include Jai Tao as well. Jai Tao was visibly pleased with this decision. Cheng Dalei continued, calling out the names of various individuals, including the blind swordsman Shitu Zhu, Mu Zhengsan, Peddler Liu Neng, Mr. Storyteller with 6 ears Q He, Tomb Raider expert Wang, Gambler Crow, Playboy Kaian Ruishui, Mangy Dog, Du Hun, and beggars. Cheng Dalei ordered dozens of them, all of whom were capable in various fields. He then addressed the rest, informing them that he had no need for their services this time. One person expressed disappointment and questioned Cheng Dalei's decision, believing they were the most qualified among those present. As some people continued to address Cheng Dalei, others expressed their desire to participate as well. Cheng Dalei remained composed, simply sipping his tea, which had an intimidating effect on his people, and eventually silenced the commotion by sternly telling them to scram. One person expressed frustration, wondering why he hadn't been chosen. Another person expressed their desire to work with Cheng Dalei. A more understanding individual cautioned against speaking nonsense, acknowledging that Cheng Dalei must have his reasons for his choices. Cheng Dalei instructed Q He to ask about 2 individuals in the city as he wanted to know about them. Q He asked for clarification of who he wanted to ask about, to which Cheng Dalei responded that it was Jiu Zhong and Liu Qingming, prompting Q He to acknowledge the task with a simple understanding. He then instructed Jai Tao to spread gossip in the brothel and reminded her not to expose herself. He also called Liu Neng to do the same task in the tea house. He then turned to Fei Yuan and began assigning a task. But before Cheng Dalei could finish his words, Qin Man suddenly appeared and addressed Cheng Dalei. Qin Man informed him that they had received news that the person they had been waiting for would be arriving in Chang'an in 3 days. He continued, stating that it was Yuzhu City Lord Yang Longting. Upon hearing this news, Shenji, Linger, and Cheng Dalei were visibly shocked. Cheng Dalei clenched in his chair, expressing determination. He gritted his teeth as he thought about the impending arrival of Yang Longting, recognizing that it was time to settle a score. Cheng Dalei then assigned tasks and instructed Fei Yuan to infiltrate the military headquarters at night and steal their action books. To Qiu he tasked him with gathering information about Yang Longting, including details about his food and drink. Wanted to know about everything. Cheng Dalei assigned Jai Tao the responsibility of spreading rumors about the 2 individuals and creating a rumor about Yang Longting's anticipated entry into the city to stir up the situation in Chang'an. Jai Tao acknowledged her task. Cheng Dalei concluded by telling them all to go and do their things. Liu Jai expressed her desire to contribute and assist Cheng Dalei with his work. Cheng Dalei, concerned for her safety, initially urged her to return to Su Ying, citing the dangerous task he was about to do. Liu Jai persisted, acknowledging her inability to fight and her lack of management skills compared to Su Ying and others. She thinks about Jai Tao at the same time. However, she emphasized her willingness to help in any way she could, such as reading and writing or assisting with his chores. She expressed a sense of frustration, feeling that Cheng Dalei often forgot about her and her desire to help with something that she was capable of. In tears, Liu Jai pleaded with Cheng Dalei not to leave her behind, expressing her desire not to hide behind him and to actively follow him. Cheng Dalei eventually patted her head while agreeing. He then instructed her to help him with handling information. Liu Jai hugged him tightly in response to his consent, and Cheng Dalei emphasized the need for her to behave. Cheng Dalei then directed Shenji and Linger to return to the examiner's residence, with instructions to inform him if something happened in the imperial court. He also instructed them to direct Wanner to meet him at his residence. After a while, Liu Jai handed Cheng Dalei a bunch of information. She informed him that all the valuable information about Liu Qingming and Jiu Zhong was included in the documents. The documents contained details about Liu Qingming, the son of Xinliang City Lord in Jingzhou, 28 years old. When he was young, he learned martial arts from the famous master. At the age of 19, he defeated 1,000 bandits with 300 house slaves. Later, he joined the Capital Guard Army and was known for his boldness, righteousness, and generosity in the army. Jiu Zhong, 26 years old. When he was young, his family was poor and he studied poetry and books. Later, he studied with Qi, a great renowned scholar in Jingzhou, and entered the Imperial College, where he was the first student. Liu Jai explained that these 2 individuals represented both military and civil officials. Qi hailed from the Qi family, while Liu Qingming's father was once a subordinate of Yu Qili. Cheng Dalei let out a sigh in response to the information, and Liu Jai appeared to pout at his reaction. Liu Zhai noticed Cheng Dale's somber mood, so she asked him what was wrong. As Cheng Dale dwelt on Wanner's words, he contemplated the significance of being considered an elite-level second generation and a phoenix man, recognizing the nature of the two people who were high rank as monsters. He couldn't help but express dismay at Wanner's judgment, with expressed disappointment evident in his thoughts. Cheng Dale speculated about the immense power wielded by these two figures, believing them to be strong contenders for the top martial arts scholar position for both civil and military affairs factions. Liu Zhai brought Cheng Dale back to the present, reminding him that their people were still waiting outside for his instructions. Cheng Dale resolved to adhere to Wanner's orders and instructed Liu Zhai to tell their people to proceed with the original plan, prompting Liu Zhai to acknowledge his command. That night at Full Fragrance House Brothel, a man urged the ladies to hurry and fill the cup, while a lady complimented Zhang on his martial arts talent, suggesting he could be the #1 martial artist. Zhang, full of confidence, chuckled heartily, saying it was only natural. Another lady then shared rumors she had heard from high-ranking officials, mentioning that the martial arts scholar had seemingly already chosen genius Jiyu Zhang. Another lady joined in, confirming the rumors she had also heard. Startled, Zhang asked for more information. Meanwhile, at a tea house, people discussed the news that the general's mansion had selected Liu Qingming as the top martial arts scholar. Others chimed in, mentioning that Jiyu Zhang was also a finalist. A few individuals dismissed the commotion, stating that it was decided from the start, and they were just making a fuss about nothing. One person concluded that they were competing for nothing. Within a day, under the efforts of several hundred people, the rumors spread throughout Chang'an at a very fast pace. In fact, Cheng Dale didn't know that what he spread may not be just rumors. Under the deliberate verification of some people with connections, they got almost the same answer. It's only been 2 days, the rumors are getting worse and worse. The next day, Liu Qingming and Jiyu Zhang's doors were blocked by martial artists who sought a challenge. People shouted at their doors, challenging them to come out and fight. Some called them a cheater, while others provoked them, saying that they wanted to be the #1 martial artist and challenge if they could beat them. At the Imperial College, over 3,000 people formed a blockade, appealing to the court for justice on behalf of the students. Several contenders questioned their worthiness, asking to demand justice, while others clamored for fairness. As night fell at the general's Heavenly Policy Mansion, the general's frustration was evident as he demanded to know who leaked the information. His irritation was visible as he shouted. A military officer reported the widespread rumors and the attack on Liu Qingming last night, causing him to lose teeth. The general, exasperated, facepalmed in response. In the end, the general speculated that this might have been the work of Magistrate Qi. Regardless, he considered these developments minor details and emphasized the need for Liu Qingming's recovery and preparation for the martial arts examination. At Qi Mansion, Magistrate Qi instructed his officers to investigate the source of the rumors, suspecting the involvement of a third party in the matter. Some officers speculated that it could have been military officials, but others dismissed the idea. Meanwhile, the general thought, as he angrily acknowledged Magistrate Qi, that he was good at it. Magistrate Qi also thought, expressed frustration at the situation, suspecting the existence of a third faction apart from the civil and military official factions. No matter how anxious the general's mansion and the prime minister's mansion were, they ground their teeth and stamped their feet under the pressure. Anyway, Cheng Dale was in high spirits, while Liu Zhai beside him, and both sat at a table filled with food. 1:15 midnight, Fei Yuan leaped around on the roof and eventually made his way to Cheng Dale's house. Fei Yuan excitedly informed his older brother, stating that luck was on their side. He revealed that he had obtained the most recent ledger from both the Ministry of War and the Ministry of Rights. Cheng Dale expressed gratitude to Fei Yuan for his hard work. Liu Zhai, curious about the purpose of the obtained information, asked Cheng Dale for clarification. Cheng Dale explained, noting that with Yan Longjing's impending arrival, the Empire would manage the reception, such as accommodations and protection. He mentioned that the Ministry of War and the Ministry of Rights were responsible for these arrangements, and by studying their records, they could gather valuable military and other information. In his thoughts, Cheng Dale noted that the negotiation team of the Ring tribe was scheduled to arrive in Chang'an the following day. Leading this group were the Kang tribe Prince Hu Yanli and the Northern tribe Prince Jin Wendao, a name that struck him as familiar. Cheng Dale knew that the imperial negotiating team included the Great Prince Lai Leshan and officials from the Ministry of Rights and Minister of War. He acknowledged the number of troops welcoming Yang Longting was 5,000, which were highly powerful imperial guards. Additionally, Yang Longting had brought along 1,000 individuals, comprising those who had made significant contributions during the war and were awaiting rewards from the imperial court. He estimated that the number of people involved exceeded 6,000, and the true extent of the operation went deeper than what was apparent at the surface, as he could easily tell it out in a glance. Cheng Dalei pondered the feasibility of assassinating Yang Longting amidst such heavy protection. Given his year-long involvement in various businesses all over the country, he decided that involving die-hard loyal warriors like Fei Yuan, Axi, and Aku in the assassination was not a good idea to let them participate. Furthermore, he pondered the feasibility of escaping in Chang'an even if the assassination was successful, and the potential to find the relics of Lai Manzi. Cheng Dalei made a decision and instructed Fei Yuan to inform the others to wait for Yang Longting's entry to the city and find the right time. A man reading from a scroll announced at the city gate that it was the day His Majesty, the Ming Emperor, took an imperial tour of the streets. Windows of every house had to close. The idle, poor people, and thieves were not allowed to look directly at the holy face. His Majesty would go out of the city to receive the imperial warlord, honor the ancestors, honor heaven, then proclaim to the world. When the imperial expedition left the imperial city, they would splash the road with clean water and cover it with yellow cloth. They started an imperial tour where the lineup was Imperial Expedition of Emperor Ming heading front. Next were the relatives of the emperor and nobles, then came accompanying eunuchs, and lastly came civilian and military officials. Meanwhile, Cheng Dalei was among the military officials enduring the scorching heat on the imperial tour. As they neared the city gate, a soldier announced that His Majesty was coming, wherein Yang Longting arrived with his men, introduced himself, and uttered that he was there to meet His Majesty, and added "Long live His Majesty" while showing his respect. Emperor Ming questioned why the imperial warlord was so polite. He went on to say that it had been a long journey for him. Emperor Ming invited Yang Longting to come to the city with him. Yang Longting responded respectfully that he was only a martial artist. He only knew the loyalty of serving the country. He shared His Majesty's concerns and dared not to be called the imperial god of war. Cheng Dalei thought in his head that he hadn't seen Yang Longting in a long time, while the soldier near him was excited that he had made new armor on purpose because he could meet the warlord that day, as he needed to make a good impression on him. Cheng Dalei's fury was clear in his eyes, and he cursed him in his head for being a god of war where, in fact, it was him who fought that battle. His attention was called, and he was referred to as Lieutenant Nui while Cheng Dalei was about to draw his sword. The soldier near him told him his eyes were so scary while Cheng Dalei was breathing hard. Cheng Dalei smiled and explained quickly that he was a little nervous. The soldier replied that he was nervous too and asked how could they not be when they were about to meet the Lord of War. Suddenly, the soldier's attention was diverted when voices emerged protesting that they were determined not to make peace with the Rings, and they would not claim vassalage, and would fight the Rings until the end. The protesters continued yelling that they were a great nation, rich but not yielding, and they would fight until the end, while the soldiers were trying to control the crowd with their spears and barriers. The protesters were yelling relentlessly in front of the soldiers as they demanded the deaths of the Rings, revenge for their ancestors, and that they should not abandon them, while complaining that the Rings were multiplying. There was no brave general for their dynasty, and they mourned for the great martial arts. Yang Longting on horseback joined the imperial tour beside the golden carriage as the protesters continued yelling for the death of the Rings. A soldier called the imperial guards, commanding them to get rid of the mob and to not disturb the conversation between His Majesty and the warlord. Immediately, the imperial guards went on to the protesters aggressively, calling them ungrateful people and threatening to get lost if they did not want to die. However, the protesters didn't budge and responded that noble people like them, who thought themselves high and mighty, dared not to kill the Rings but only played crudely at them. A protester yelled furiously that God would punish them, while Emperor Ming and Yang Longting silently passed them. Fast forward at night, dozens of kilometers away from Chang'an, in the wilderness, a Ring member reminisced that the last time they were there, they were having fun robbing and looting. However, this time they couldn't rob. They were there to negotiate and see if they could get a few more princesses. They would ask the cowards for more supplies, paper, tea, iron, and so on, as these things were very valuable in their country. With a pot of them, they could exchange a beautiful white woman. Meanwhile, inside the white tent, a man was asleep and laying on his bed. It was Jin Wendao. He was having a nightmare about the deadly and disastrous flooding where he lost his brothers, lots of Ring members, and a flash of Fu Delay's face appeared. Jin Wendao abruptly woke up and got up with terrors in his eyes. He was heavily breathing from that nightmare. Jin Wendao thought in his head that almost a year had passed, but he still couldn't forget that defeat. He thought of Cheng Dale, while another ring member addressed him as prince and told that it was time to go. Along the road, Jin Wendao went on thinking if he would have a chance to kill Cheng Dale and Chang'an this time, since he had won such a great battle, he must have a share of the reward. A few moments later, after Emperor Ming received Yang Longting, the ceremony of ancestor worship began the next day. Emperor Ming changed his clothes and went to the offering table to incense. He made 3 prostrations and 9 bows, and there were no need to do the many formalities and rituals associated with it. Emperor Ming thought that the ancestor was blessed as he was inclined to the people. May they send down a few talents to protect the empire. A man was reading in a scroll and announced that after His Majesty's greeting, the princes and officials were then invited to come forward and greet in turn. As the ceremony continued, Cheng Dale on the other hand thought the activity was really annoying. He wanted to get it over with quickly so he could hug Liu Zhai and listen to a little song. A man continued announcing about 1 dedication. All officials bowed, 3 knees and 9 bows. Suddenly, a notification was heard by Cheng Dale that a nearby container was detected, which surprised him. It continued to notify him that this container was full of power. While others bowed down, Cheng Dale only kneeled in surprise that this container was treasured for centuries and carried the luck of the country. It was continuously notifying that the host must get the container as soon as possible. The container that he discovered was powerful enough to reset the system and even upgrade the system to a new generation. It repeatedly notified the host, Cheng Dale, to get the container as soon as possible. The container was a gold relic.